Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. Welcome. Welcome, especially if you're one of the new subscribers. I'm so happy you're here. And everyone else, I'm always happy you're here. There's some of you that when I see that a comment's popped up and you've said something, I immediately go, oh, and I'm so happy. So welcome. Enough people thought it was really funny that I had a board of allies that I thought, okay, well, we'll talk about who the allies are and who's on the board of allies. It's longer than I would have thought, and for varying reasons. So I'm gonna group them together for different reasons and for different purposes. But the first one I'll talk about, and the board of, like when I say a board of allies, I'm talking about the decks that I really trust because I know that I'm going to have that either, well, let's be specific. So the Board of Allies are decks that I trust because the reading is going to be really good. And I feel like I can use it and get a really accurate reading for myself or for a client, or both, or they're allies because there is a connection there that is deepening and in the process of deepening. So I guess I'll be more specific about them as I go through with each deck. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Apparition Spirit Speak Tarot, which is a deck that I have not... Ooh, hello, it wants to already start reading. One of my favorite cards just jumped. Seven of Cups. I just love that Seven of Cups. So this deck, it is a big honkin' deck, very thick, and it smells so good. Ooh, had to do that. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Love to sniff decks, but yeah, it is it's a deep deck, given that it is in such, the artwork is really very naive. So this is an example, and I think I kind of talked about it a little bit in another video recently, and I can't remember which one, to be honest, but about about some decks having, kind of a naive type of art style to them. This is definitely the one. It's Mary Elizabeth Evans, and I love her work. I love it so much. This one probably should be on the council of, as I'm looking at it. It probably really should be on my council of 7 because I really do trust it, and part of why I trust it so much is because it feels so right. When I pick it up and use it, I feel happy. I feel content. I feel it tells me it is following Rider-Waite Smith, but I think it was Leanda from Liminal Lark who said it best. She said, both of her decks will kind of smack you on the hand and say, don't think you know. I may look sweet and cute, but I'm going to also kick you in the butt in a moment that you would least expect, right? Like that Four of Pentacles. It just gets right to the core of what's going on. But, it says what it says in a voice that is very immediate, that's spacious, that has an innocence to it and a kindness to it. And I feel like when I pick up this deck and work with it, I'm talking to a friend that's younger and incredibly wise and spacious and has a lot of patience and space for me. And I love that. And it puts me right back in touch with things right away. For clients, it is immediately not threatening, really accessible. The readings with it tend to be spot on. Really spot on. And I've read for people who are terrified of the tarot before, who, when I pull this one out of the box or out of the suitcase or out of the bag or whatever, they're like, oh, thank God. I was so worried you were going to bring out something scary, which, like, let's be real, folks. It's me. So much of the time I do. I do bring out something scary. When the least threatening deck that I have with me is the Marielle, which did happen once in October, and I felt so bad. I vowed never, ever again to leave the house without a more gentle-natured deck, right? And thankfully that reading went extremely well, and the Marielle was perfect for this woman, but she was so afraid. She was crying, and she'd never had a reading before, and she was extremely religious. And I think had I been able to pull this one out, she would have felt a lot more at ease about it. So, when I think about the decks that I had with me at that moment, I had the Marigold. It was October. I had the Marigold, and I had the Santa Muerte and the Marielle. So if that's something to be aware of, for me, like really, it is something that doesn't, when I hear people talk about the Marielle in a way that is not as bright and cheerful as it is for me, I realize like that it rips you open, and it's not a comfortable deck. And it's something for me to be aware of, which is why we have a whole council, right? Or a council and a board. Right? Council and a board. So so that's the apparition. Another one that she did, which I refer you to. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to link Leanda's video at the bottom here where she talks about it. She has the most beautiful things to say about the spirit speak, and I agree with all of them. And it is absolutely why this is on my board of allies. It is a beautiful black and white deck, and again, it was what she had said that also applies to apparition. Same deck creator, obviously. It's Mary Elizabeth Evans. It is RWS, and it's not. You really do have to pay attention, and it is very outside the box. So those are those two. Another one where I really thought about afterwards, like, why didn't I just include this one automatically? And it's because of comparing mind. Because I have not done the level of depth work with this deck that I have with other decks. Bottom line. Not only that, but Nina from Shuffle Tarot has done a whole series of videos talking about her work with this deck, and it is the Motherpeace. And it is the most glorious, beautiful deck. And it was one of the first decks that I got this year, and I'm always holding it the wrong way. It's just one of the things with round decks. And it was, I just love it, it is intersectional, it is definitely feminist, and it is it's just so beautiful. I just love it. When I read with the Motherpeace deck, I feel comfort, I feel ease. Its perspective it's so broad and like non-punitive, it is, and yet, this is a really fierce temperance, that is not a gentle temperance. It is like a warm hug and a smack in the face when you need it. Not that I ever believe that we should smack people in the face, but you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of a sting and that kind of like, oh, that happens as though someone had smacked you in the face. The tower, this tower gets me every time. I love it so much. And the tower is always one of my favorite cards because I feel like I'm always living in that space. I can't seem to get away from it. And that's, that's okay. That's part of the journey. But yeah, the women and the bodies and the nudity and the octopus and the 8 of Cups makes me laugh every time. I love him so much. This 7 of Swords with the fox going to the chicken coop. And just that one gets me. There's a Heckle and Jekyll card. I always refer to it as that in here somewhere. It's the 7 of... Oh, that was the 7 of Swords. Which one is it? It's the 5 of Swords or 8 of Swords. I think it's the 8 of Swords. Naturally, I won't be able to find it. Oh, yeah, here we go. This guy. Oops. He's got these two crows here at the top, kind of watching it. I feel like they're just almost commenting on how stupid he is trying to use his swords. He's going to go through that entire bunch of swords there and you know, it's such a commentary on the mind and the way that we get trapped. You know, it's the definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result, you know, but there's a sense of, you know, whereas in the regular RWS, there isn't a sense of humor. There is a sense of humor in this one. So I love this deck. And I do have 2 copies of it. I also have the mini. I got the mini first, and then when Cassia on Tarot Map started talking about, started talking about it, and the difference is I thought, oh, maybe I really should get, you know, the bigger one. And I have to say, I'm kind of with Nina. I love, as much as I love the big ones for being able to look at them, this one is always sitting out, you know, unwrapped. I've got this guy, you know, sitting here in its bag, and I had to unwrap it to bring it out for this. But my little one is always out. Because if I want to play with it, it's just so easy to pick it up and play with it. And it shuffles like a dream, you know, right into the palm of your hand without a problem. It's just lovely. It's lovely. And its energy is beautiful. I just haven't done the same level of work with it as I have with several of my others. But my plan, part of my plan for next year is to do that. So I have on my Christmas list all of the Motherpeace books, which I intend to get so that I can start a deeper dive into the Motherpeace, because I didn't realize how deeply you could dive into the Motherpeace until Nina did. And it's inspired me to want to do that myself. So I fully anticipate that will be part of my journey in the coming year, which is exciting. So that's the Motherpeace. Another one, again, I have not done the same depth or level of work with this one, and that's really the only thing stopping me from putting it on my, you know, making it one of my 7, Council of 7, is the Dark Goddess Tarot by Ellen Lorenzi Prince. I think she is a fucking genius, frankly. And pardon my language or not, I don't really mind either way. I do like a little peppering of the language here or there, because it somehow keeps you human, keeps you normal. But it's got this little white book. There's also this ginormous PDF, and I love this PDF. I can't even get through that PDF because there's so much of it. And I actually really just need to get it printed, or figure out how to print it. Printing is so hard to do anymore, and we don't have a great setup. But anyway, the card stock for this is just delicious. It smells amazing. You know, it's Arnell art. Oh, this one. Inanna. I think Inanna was the first card I ever drew from this deck. And I'd been thinking of her name, and then I shuffled and she jumped out. So, you know, it's got a presence to it. It is very, very alive. It's incredible. I've had incredible readings from this deck. I tend to like, we know this about me, I like things that are dark. One of the great revelations of my life, I think, has been learning to accept the darkest parts of myself and love them, you know, for who and what they are. And each one of these goddesses has something about them that is dark and unlovable in theory, right? Or hard to love. And yet, in each one of them, there's something that's so utterly lovable, or admirable, or respectable, or beautiful. And that is, you know, so it is with each of us. You know, as much as we have these goddesses inside of us as archetypes, you know, there's even more opportunity there to embrace those aspects of who we are and find them valuable. As much as they hurt us, they're there for a reason. They have a message. So finding out what is that message and what does it tell me, that's beautiful. Not only that, I do also, there's things for me are frequently like a yes and. It's not just that they might, that they're archetypal. The biggest thing that has kind of blown my mind in the last 18 months really has been the discovery. I used to think of all of this stuff as archetypal and not really formed except in the mind. And whether they existed before the mind shaped them and named them or after is kind of irrelevant. They're real. Going and being on a retreat where we were working with dakinis, the biggest shock that I had was, I was perfectly willing to accept that we were doing a psychological exercise and getting in touch with something inside of ourselves that's wrathful and fierce and all of that, and working with it in an alchemical fashion. But the discovery of them as real through an experience was shocking. It shook me to the core, and I was not expecting that. And similarly, when I started working with these cards, with this decks, I knew one of the dakinis would come out pretty quickly. But yeah, the discovery of having, going to bed at night and having dreams about Pele and walking on a volcano and then getting up the next morning and shuffling cards, and the card that jumps out of the deck first is Pele's card. Those kinds of experiences really, were very transformative and very deep. Or again, there's our blue dakini, having that moment of, there she is, thinking about Inanna before ever picking up the deck to shuffle it, and then having Inanna be the first one to jump was, those kinds of, it's experiential. Those are the things you can't create in a deck. They're part of the alchemy of the person and the creator and the deck, and then whatever else, what other energies are coming around that connect with that deck. And I do have a greater sense of the reality of that as well, as a result of working with this one. So, yeah, the way I'm talking about it, like, why the hell aren't these guys? Like, why are they not on my council? And again, it's not that they're not going to be. I'd say these are contenders. They will be. It's simply that I haven't done that work with them yet. But then I just, I'm about to put out a video, or will have put out a video already. I'm not sure what order they'll come in, whereby it's very plainly obvious with some of my, with some of my choices for 7 guides that I haven't done that work with them yet. With some of them I have, and we know each other very well. And with some I haven't needed to do as much. I guess it's the way that they connect. So sometimes the decks you pick up, there's an instant like, oh, we know each other. And the resonance is very immediate. And then there's other times where you really, you're going to value that deck or that person or whatever it is just as much, but you do want that time and effort and energy with it in order to know that investment is what you think it's going to be, if that makes sense. I would say generally, I don't own decks that I don't love and that I don't use regularly, because if I'm not using it, or I'm not going to use it, where it's like definitely going to be rotating back around to it, I don't even buy it anymore. I eliminated all of those from my collection over the summer, and I don't bother to buy them now. All the talking, you see. Gotta keep having a little drink of water there. Okay, so there's that. Dark Goddess, Motherpeace, Spirits Begun. What else do I have here? I have the the Tarot de Saint Croix. I'm holding, it's right here. The Tarot de Saint Croix. This is one I knew too, is going to be part of my counsel. And I think with this one, it's the respect I have for the deck itself and for the creator that I don't put it right on the council straight away, because on some level I don't feel like I've given it enough time and energy to be able to say, yes, we, like with the Motherpeace. I think too, I wouldn't have been able to say that necessarily about the Marielle, although I think I probably would have. But this, I love this deck. Again, RWS based, but similarly, it goes in different directions. It will absolutely shift you away from RWS in ways that you least expect. And it will catch you off guard. So you do have to do your homework. Look at that one. God, I love that tower. And I love this one, this Five of Pentacles. Yeah, it's just so good. And it's got the Hierophant that's the Dalai Lama, which was one of the cards that came out of the general reading last week. It's just, that's so beautiful. That one gets me every time. It's such a beautiful deck. It's so thoughtful. It's a lovely deck. So yeah, this one will, I sense, is going to be sort of in that Council of Seven at some point, for totally different reasons. Almost having 7 decks here just with this one. Another ally, someone that's a contender on the board of allies, and this is the second to last, I promise, is the Sigilla Mediavalia. Medieval Sigils Tarot by Julianne Victoria. Again, this one I need more time with. So I'm really setting a goal for myself to begin looking more deeply at the symbols used, specifically like the angelic script, and which Marielle uses as well, and the oghams and the runes, and was it the alphabet of the Magi, because they have such a specific feel to them that really working with those elements, working with that, it's out of respect. Again, it's out of respect. She has said before that this is a channeled deck. And, I have that, when I pick it up and work with it, I definitely have that sense about it. It feels like, it unlocks a lot. It really brings a lot that's in the back right up to consciousness. But the process of doing that is not, it's neither comfortable nor easy. Sometimes, it's like all tarot, right? Sometimes that's comfortable and easy, and sometimes the message itself is not comfortable or easy, right? But there's no guidebook. There's really no guidebook. And there's no way, there's nowhere to go but here. And, probably that's about trusting myself wholeheartedly. As I think about it, that's probably about being willing and able to trust myself. And I feel like where this deck is concerned, it will be easier for me to do that by being more familiar, and by, whatever it is that I'm getting in touch with, whether it is a literal soul or spirit, or ancestor of some sort that's coming up, or whether it's, or the energies that are associated with some of the symbols, and I mean, obviously this is a definite, right? Or the parts of myself that are being brought forward by the sort of alchemical process of working with this one. I need that time and space to really get to know it and be, respectful, and really to build that trust, right? It's building the trust, building the relationship. to borrow one of Natalia's words, it's the intersubjective container. Is that right? I think that's right. But it's that building that container with the deck, and with myself to know that this is, yeah. I think that's it. Yeah, there we go. So that's that is the Medieval Sigils Tarot. And then finally, last but very definitely not least, this is the newest member of my collection, and one that I feel is, just for those same reasons, is about to go. I'm just completely shocked because I would never have expected to say this about this deck. But I feel like it will go on to could potentially be a Council of Seven contender, and that is the Enchanted Forest Tarot. I cannot believe I'm saying this about this deck. I'm not a big mass market deck person. The book is so beautiful and it smells amazing. Oh, not only that, the deck smells amazing. I almost smell it, but you can't smell it. It is, I'm not, yeah, I'm just, and I'm someone I'm white. Surprise. We totally knew. And I'm not ashamed of being white or anything. I'm just kind of bored with it. It's, it's not all there is in the world, and it's definitely not the most important thing. And so it's not about this deck at all. It's about me. It's not that a deck has to be 100% intersectional for it to be any good, I've realized. It's just, it's that I'm kind of done with, illustrative, children's book, fairy story, illustrative stuff that's pagan and, white and kind of slightly witchy and druidy, and might have something to do a little bit with fairies. I tend to be very resistant to that because I'm really not. I feel like that's more about someone's projection of. I'm struggling for words here tonight. I'm so tired and my brain hurts a little bit. Basically, I feel like it's it's like when people romanticize a particular time period or a particular way of looking at the world. Sentimental is the word that I'm looking for. Sentimentality, romanticizing, etc. This is not really that. This kind of twists that and turns it on its head. So it does start you there, but it's way deeper. So the images and so forth look like that, but then the journey that you're led upon is so much bigger and deeper. Linnea Weatherstone is a wise woman. This is someone with a tremendous amount of time and experience. I mean, that's dark. Right? This is Hansel and I feel Hansel and Gretel when I look at this. The witch lives in that house. Hell, if I was going to lure kids to their death, I would put candy on my house too. That's how you lure kids to their death. I mean, and it's, you know what I'm saying? It's got a lot more depth to it. And, the European sort of fairy tale, into the woods kind of feel psychologically is tremendous. It's huge, and it really is resonant in a way that I did not anticipate I would, I just did not expect it to hit me the way it did. So it has given me the most kick-ass readings. I mean, this is also quite dark, frankly. This one, the Eight of Visions, so the Eight of Cups. They're lost in the woods and they're disillusioned and they can't find their way and nothing looks the way it's supposed to. And you know, it's got a lot of, it hits you on a psychological level that's actually very deep. Um, and the collaboration between, you know, the illustrator and the author is really very apparent. You know, that they had an excellent collaboration, in the way that they're drawn and in the way that the book reads. So I'm really getting a lot out of working with it. And yeah, this wasn't meant to be a review, but it's kind of sounding like one. Again, I feel like I need a little bit longer before I could really review it, but I probably will because it's stunning and I'm completely shocked. So I love it when that happens. So those are my decks, guys. That's my board of allies at present. I kind of feel like there's yet another layer of qualifying the decks that I have that could come about, but at the moment, this is how it is. So, yeah. So if you got this far in, thank you so much for your viewership and your patience, because it's appreciated. And I appreciate all of you deeply. I'm having so much fun being part of this community, and you know, and finding things to share, finding things to offer to everyone. So thank you. And I will see you again in the next one. Bye.